There are times like this when I really don't like myself very much.
What happened to it?
I'd say it's gone for that last big lube job up yonder.
Where to begin with The Love Bug? It plays like a goofy Disney comedy, yet keeps brushing up against some remarkably heavy material for a 1968 family film. The movie is centered around a sullen, past his prime race car driver, as well as a sentient car who, at one point, attempts to throw itself off of a bridge.
No, Herbie, don't! Come on, baby, it's gonna be a beautiful day tomorrow.
But since this production also took place right after the Summer of Love, the film would also include more light-hearted touches, like that curvy street in San Francisco, hippies,
Groovy pop, groovy!
short skirts, smooching in cars, and drug use.
I think you've been up on that Haight-Ashbury beat too long.
Okay, there's no actual drug use in the film. But even making a joke about Haight-Ashbury, the district at the heart of the psychedelic movement, was pretty racy for Disney. Now, despite all of its quirks, The Love Bug was a smash hit, pulling in over $51 million at the box office. At the time, this would have placed it in the top 10 highest grossing films of all time, right up there with the likes of Gone with the Wind and The Sound of Music. But is it a racing film? Boy meets girl? Or maybe a buddy comedy? I'm not even sure that it knows. There is one thing we can point to in this movie and say, yep, we should have seen that coming. The birth of the cash grab sequel. Technically, we could point to 1963's Son of Flubber as Disney's first cash grab sequel, following up on the success of The Absent-Minded Professor. But Herbie would take things to a whole new level. Looking back at the first 30 years of feature-length films at the Walt Disney Studios, only 3 sequels were ever produced. By contrast, The Love Bug alone would receive 3 sequels between 1974 and 1980. You were getting a new Herbie film every 3 years, whether you wanted it or not. There was Herbie Rides Again.
My brave champion, you have won me! Take me to your kingdom.
Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. And Herbie Goes Bananas, which took Herbie on a trip through Latin America. And despite each subsequent film drawing less and less money at the box office, Herbie wasn't finished yet. There would be a 1982 CBS television series, Herbie the Love Bug, once again starring Dean Jones. But that one was canceled after just 5 episodes. It was at this point that Herbie was finally put back in the garage, and there he would stay for the next 15 years. But Disney would bring Herbie out of retirement in 1997 for a 5th installment in the movie franchise. And this one starred Bruce freaking Campbell.
Groovy.
How did I not know this movie existed? And why can't I find a decent copy anywhere? A funny bit of personal backstory. Bruce Campbell is the only celebrity I've ever written a letter to, and he sent me back an autographed picture. Or his assistant did. Either way, still pretty cool. I also might be caught in a loop here of only reviewing films that Lindsay Lohan would eventually remake for Disney, as I just covered The Parent Trap, and she would also appear in Herbie Fully Loaded, the 6th film in the franchise. Is my next video the Jodie Foster classic Freaky Friday?
I wish I could switch places with her for just one day.
I guess you'll have to subscribe and find out. But before we dig any deeper into this little car that could, My name is Jay.
What's the matter? You from LA or something?
That is Wally Bogue, longtime performer at Disneyland's Golden Horseshoe Revue. And this is The Love Bug.
Everyone has a fantastic story to tell about his car. Now, get lined up for the one that tops them all. It's the story of Herbie, the screen's first four-cylinder star.
Did you see this thing take off?
One of your showboat tricks, Mr. Douglas.
I tell you, I had nothing to do with it. Hey, we were turning.
Dean Jones.
I've done great with this little car so far, thanks to a few changes I made, and if you don't mind, some pretty fair country driving.
Michelle Lee.
You really think it was you winning those races?
Buddy Hackett as Tennessee Steinmetz, who digs the metal physical.
I'm your friend.
David Tomlinson.
I tell you, there's more going on here than meets the eye.
Jim, that's water.
Catch Walt Disney Productions' The Love Bug. Suggested for general audiences.
I think I can safely say that I never saw The Love Bug as a kid, as most of it felt brand new when I watched it recently. I was certainly aware of the original, having seen those classic shots that show up on a lot of Disney highlight reels. This shot, by the way, filmed at Disney's Golden Oak Ranch, was achieved by stringing wires between telephone poles at either end of the pond. The crew was then able to run the car back and forth, dipping it into the water as necessary. But the first Herbie film I remember seeing was the one with Don Knotts, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. And what I mostly remember about that film was just Don Knotts doing his thing.
You just forget that little chick, and you can do it. Just a matter of mind over metal.
And while I may not be on board with the whole car comes to life premise, I was clearly in the minority, as Herbie has gone on to become an absolute cultural phenomenon. The Love Bug stars Dean Jones, Michelle Lee, Buddy Hackett, and David Tomlinson. And look, whatever else I may say about this movie, it is absolutely worth watching just for David Tomlinson.
And then get Mr. Douglas and his acquisition out of here before I lose my temper!
After seeing his softer side in films like Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, it was a delight watching him go full villain as the shady car shop owner Peter Thorndike.
There isn't a driver in the world who can get that speed out of a car like that. No, he's done something to it, and I've got to find out what!
He gives us some next-level scenery chewing in this film. As for Dean Jones, this was his 6th of 9 films for Disney, all between the years of 1965 and 1977.
Help! 2 hamburgers and a coffee.
Help! I'm a prisoner! I can't get out!
We all prisoners, Chicky baby. We all locked in.
And while I am a fan of Dean Jones, I was not a huge fan of Jim Douglas, his character in The Love Bug.
I can understand how Tennessee feels. He's just in off a flying saucer, but you! I thought you made sense.
I know that's sort of the point. He's meant to be unlikable in the first part of the film. But even as the story progresses and he apparently learns the error of his ways, I still think he just comes across as the same cocky, gum-chewing driver we met at the beginning. Say what you will about him being a changed man, but he absolutely drives Herbie into the ground in order to win the film's final race.
What goes on?
Just keep driving! Try not to think about what I'm doing!
And while Herbie would ride again, I thought it was kind of fitting that Jim Douglas wasn't in the second film.
Of course, I have to humor Herbie. He used to be a famous racing car, but his driver went off to Europe to drive foreign cars, so he's a little sensitive.
Luckily for us, the harumphing Jim Douglas gets balanced out by the rest of the supporting cast. You have Tennessee Steinmetz, played by comedian Buddy Hackett, who despite playing slightly raunchier roles in the past, acts more as the heart and soul of this film.
Go on. Realize what you're saying?
And if you get the feeling like you've heard his voice before, then you might recognize another of his Disney roles, Scuttle from The Little Mermaid.
Look at you! Look at you! There's something different. Don't tell me. I got it. It's your hairdo, right? You've been using a dinglehopper, right?
Incredibly, Buddy would finish shooting The Love Bug on Friday nights and then fly to Las Vegas to perform his comedy routine at the Sahara. And Buddy wasn't the only one burning the midnight oil, as co-star Michelle Lee, who plays Carol Bennett, was double booked with Columbia Records during the production. So Lee wound up splitting her time on the film set during the day and at the recording studio at night. Lee is probably best known for her time on the television show Knots Landing, where she starred as Karen Fairgate, or Karen McKenzie, depending on which seasons you watched. More recently, she was terrific as Ben Stiller's mom in Along Came Polly.
I'm going to ask this nice Native American man to get us a bigger table.
Okay, Mom, they're Indian. You can call them Indian. It's okay.
Hi, need big table, please. 4 people. Many thanks.
And that brings us to the film's star. Herbie was a 1963 Volkswagen Beetle, picked from a group of cars Disney brought in to audition for the title role. There were Toyotas, Volvos, a few other sports cars, and Disney encouraged their employees to interact with the different vehicles. And while they would often kick tires or turn steering wheels, whenever they came across the VW Bug, they would give the little car a pet. And that's how they landed on their Herbie. You may notice in the film, however, that all of the logos and signage have been removed from the car. Part of this was due to Volkswagen not being fully sold on the film, but also because Herbie does engage in some questionably legal practices. You may not have noticed, but Disney pulls a quick switcheroo in this scene, swapping out the pricey Lamborghini 400 GT for another sports car that was about 1/3 of the price, a Jaguar XKE. Disney would use over 20 different VW Beetles in the making of the film, each one being modified for various tasks. One of my favorite of those cars, often referred to as Herbie No. 2, was used in the racing sequences and equipped with a Super 75 engine pulled straight out of a Porsche 356. Dean Jones took Buddy Hackett for a ride in Herbie No. 2 on one occasion, pushing the car north of 100 miles per hour. It was producer Bill Walsh who selected Herbie's number 53 as a tribute to Don Drysdale, the star pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers who wore the same number. Herbie's red, white, and blue racing stripe was actually a late addition, added by the filmmakers so they could more easily spot the car on the racetrack. And finally, the iconic California license plate OFP 857 was a nod to director Robert Stevenson. Stevenson holds the distinction of directing the most Disney feature films in the history of the studio. The crew wanted to honor Stevenson's directorial debut at Disney, which was 1957's Johnny Tremaine, and so the license plate translates to our first production, August 1957. Now, outside of the top cast, there are some truly excellent bit players in this film that I'd like to mention. There's Joe Flynn's Havershaw, which was just the start of a very busy Disney career for Flynn.
You know something about champagne, sir?
Havershaw, if you tell me that the bubbles tickle your nose, I shall probably kill you!
This would be the first of 7 live-action feature films that he would appear in for Disney, including 5 with Kurt Russell.
Hey, pretty great about the computer, huh? You know, I don't like to brag, but if it hadn't been for the fact that I used to work there.
Him I'm gonna watch most of all.
Flynn also found his way into one animated feature, The Rescuers, where he plays the unforgettable Mr. Snoops.
Now you behave or I'll let Nero and Brutus have your old teddy bear.
You will not. Besides, I'm not scared of him like you are, Mr. Snoops.
Ah, don't you sass me.
Next up is Gary Owens, who for some reason I just can't get enough of as the announcer for the El Dorado race.
Yes, there they are. The Thorndike car now seems to have a slight edge on the Douglas car, which is hanging right in there.
Owens started his career as an announcer on the radio, but broke into television on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In.
And me, I'm Gary Owens, bringing you this important message. Oh, excuse me. There's an R missing there. This important mercy.
He would also narrate The Wonderful World of Disney between the years of 1979 and 1984. And if you're a fan of classic Epcot Center, he also provided the narration for World of Motion. I'd also be remiss not to take a moment to talk about the drivers that helped create all of the racing scenes. Disney even features them prominently at the beginning of the film, which I thought was a nice touch. I also found it interesting to learn that all of this demolition derby action is stock footage, taken from the 1966 film Fireball 500. And although it wasn't a Disney film, it did star Annette Funicello. One name missing from our list of drivers is Carrie Lofton, who not only coordinated the driving sequences and most of the stunts, but was also the main driver for Herbie. Having worked as a Hollywood stuntman for over 60 years, he has an absolutely staggering body of work. The sequence at the end of the film when Herbie breaks in two, it was Lofton driving the rear piece of the car. In order for the shot at the finish line to work, the filmmakers needed the back half of the car to go a bit faster than what was considered safe. Lofton wound up flipping the backside on multiple takes before finally managing to get it safely across the finish line. He would return to do stunts in both Herbie Rides Again and Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. The only album released for the film was a Storyteller album, and it featured Buddy Hackett reprising his role from the film, while also serving as the album's narrator. It's funny, but I think he sounds more like Scuttle on this recording than Tennessee Steinmetz, which is kind of a neat glimpse into the future. But I'd have to say my favorite part of this record is the artwork. The jacket and book both include some of the film's most memorable moments, and they're just really well done. Okay, time for some tough love. Despite its financial success and all the love it's received through the years, I kind of think this movie is boring. There's quite a lot of what I would call just basic car racing, not the quirky antics that have come to define the love bug. In fact, it really wasn't until the sequels that we started to see these over-the-top gags that Herbie is known for today.
Now, what other car gives you this kind of quality?
And while I'm also a fan of composer George Bruns, whose musical theme for Herbie is both fun and spot on for the 60s, by the fifth or sixth time you hear it, it starts to lose some of its pizzazz. But what I think really holds this film back is the obscene amount of these in-car sodium vapor green screen shots. I understand that they were bound by the technology of the 1960s and that the film had a fairly modest budget, but this still feels kind of lazy to me. I won't heap all of this on Robert Stevenson's shoulders, but this was his 14th film at Disney, and I feel like he could have pushed for a bit more variety or creativity. I know. You can let me have it in the comments. It's certainly possible that if I'd seen this film at some other point in my life, it might have resonated with me differently, but having only just seen it through recently, I was sort of underwhelmed. I also find it a bit ridiculous that they get married in the end. This just feels tacked on for no reason. But I guess they did kiss in a Disney movie, so by law, I think you have to get married. But even with all my nitpicking, it is impossible to ignore the cultural impact of this film. Not only did it launch a franchise, it arguably gave us the most recognizable car on the planet. If you've never seen The Love Bug, I do think it's worth your time. At the end of the day, any shortcomings are made up for by a solid cast, great practical effects, and some truly impressive stunt work. You can find the entire Herbie lineup over on Disney+, minus the Bruce Campbell version, of course. Seriously, you're gonna make me buy this thing on VHS, Disney? So which Herbie film did you grow up with? And what other famous car do you think rivals that of the little white Volkswagen? Please let me know in the comments. So until next time, my name is Jay. Thanks for watching.
This must be Disney. This is the first time I've ever had coffee without tequila in it.